know how to sit on this chair because my foot still hurts. I might just...
Tell me when you're ready, dear.
Okay. I don't know where to put it. This is such an uncomfortable chair. I can move it in here.
There you go. Ready?
Let's try this way.
Okay. Namaste.
Namaste.
Haribol.
Haribol.
And peace be with you. It's an interesting thing. Thanks for coming out, hanging with us. I've been informed by the boss that we ran a little long on the last one. It was supposed to be 10 minutes. It was like 28.
28 minutes.
Whoops. Didn't feel like 28 minutes, but I've noticed that about engaging in this process now for almost 26 years, and the time can you get a bit of a trance, and time just doesn't feel like it's the same.
You're most of the time of the day in a kind of trance anyhow. So.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll start with some Gauranga breathing. If it's your first time here, it's 4 syllables, Gauranga, the length of the breath, and means he whose body is more beautiful than molten gold. And just these are non-sectarian, non-sect names. They're in a language that's Sanskrit, but whatever names of God you love, just chant those. But if you want to join with us, that's wonderful. And we think at a time when there is so much trial and tribulation and pain and misery going on in the world, that peace has to start with ourselves, and then between the people closest to us, and then we extend to our neighbors. And we're surrounded here by so many creatures, lizards and birds and sheep and goats, and it's really beautiful that all of life, everything that breathes, praises the Lord. One of my wonderful teachers once said, thank you, that everyone gets to share in this transcendental sound vibration. And if this is your lunch break, or you're taking a little break before dinner, or maybe it's early in the morning or late at night, that we invite you, we welcome you to, let's just be at peace together for a few minutes. And just settle down. And that peace starts at home. It starts in the heart. And we found that practicing these mantras, and it helps bring a lot of peace into our hearts and into our home, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I was just thinking of the first months that we spent together, and I was still running around like a crazy chicken, and you kept telling me, settle down. Settle down.
It's a bit of a joke between us. They'll settle down. I need to settle down too, but anyway, it's yeah, so we're just going to breathe in, thinking of the sound Gauranga. Well, maybe we'll do 10 of these today, and I've got another passage I wanted to read from Bhagavad Gita, but yeah, you can just sit, relax, take a nice deep breath in. If the mind wanders, just bring it back to the sound. Relaxing the face and jaw and the shoulders. Gauranga. of the sound Gauranga as you breathe in. Four more times. Last time. Haribol.
Haribol. So welcome to JuicyMagiK on the Daily with Maria.
And Mark, hello. Namaste, Haribol, and peace be with you. So, how are you today? How you feeling? If you enjoyed Gauranga, we encourage you to just give it a go. And first thing when you get up in the morning, it's really nice if you can get up a little bit before or around sunrise. I know everyone has different busy lives, but I found myself and many others, and throughout the ages, people write about those hours between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. They're really, really, really quiet periods of time. And, we can't always make sounds around others if we're in, our spouse or our kids are sleeping. But if you have another room you can go to, if you wake up in the middle of the night, don't get anxious, just take some time. You can plug one ear and do a very soft Gauranga breathing. And you may find it calms your mind, lowers your heart rate, allows you to go back to sleep. Or if you're up, then you can do this as long as you want to. There's no hard and fast rules. And you may find that maybe 30, 40, 50 times a Gauranga, you really sink and drop and relax into a very, very wonderful bubble of transcendental sound.
I really like it when you play it all night. Really quiet and just really soft in the background.
We have some, wonderful, there's so many incredible, wonderful people out there who advanced devotees and souls they've made recordings and they're giving music accompanying this sound vibration, and you can put it on. I have a CD player where it's on repeat. It's not so good with the phone, if the light's on, or if you don't have YouTube Premium, then the commercials come on and it's like, you don't want that. So sometimes the old analog way yourself. The nice thing about doing it yourself too is that you can feel the vibration. I really notice it here in my heart. It's said in scripture, and all the great teachers teach the same thing, that the kingdom of God is within you. And in fact, God, the supreme person, comes with you. You, the living entity, are here in the heart, and it's what's creating all the energy in the body and the appearance of life in the body. As soon as you leave, the body shows its natural tendency, which is inert matter. It's just matter. Life doesn't come from matter. Matter forms around the living entity, and body looks like it's moving around, this meat puppet suit, but it's anyone that's seen anyone after they've left their body, that body's just a I mean, recently I had the opportunity to see my father's body. He left his body when I was away from him, but it's nice. We did a lot of chanting together and read a lot of scripture together, and he was a really, really good man, and I'm so lucky to have had him in my life. But I had a video, someone took me into where his body was being kept before the cremation, and he
was not there anymore.
He wasn't there anymore. Boy, it was hard though. You know, I'm very attached to him, and I still miss him very much. But this kind of meditation, this kind of information that we'll read from the Bhagavad Gita, and just being engaged in sadhana bhakti and the practice of love and devotion and service to the Supreme Being, the highest form of yoga, the ultimate goal of all jnanis, yogis, and bhaktas is love for God. So, and knowing that he's gonna go to where he goes next, but every moment around us, there's bodies. We see them at the side of the road. Someone hits a person in a cat body. I had one of my favorite cats. It's just a little guy, and someone wasn't paying attention and hit him, and our neighbors brought him over to us, and his head was caved in, and yeah, I spent a lot of time chanting to that little guy, and I used to play, I still do, of Gauranga meditation all night long, all day long. And the people in the four-legged bodies, they got a lot of nice, after they've left, anyone that's had a pet knows they don't often stick around as long as a person with a human form. So this human form is actually a really great taking off point for spiritual life. We have a unique opportunity in the human form of life to actually inquire into, well, who am I? You know, what am I doing here? And where the heck am I going?
Oh God.
You know?
Yeah.
And we can also inquire into who's God and what's he like?
Why did he put me here?
Or, well, that's a whole other. We can do a class just on that. We can do a.
You could do a whole course.
Yes, it's on the daily, but you didn't put us here. We put ourselves here. We chose to come here, but anyway. So just being around this transcendental sound, it's really nice for ourselves, but nicely, and it puts us into a peaceful state, which then allows us to engage with the people around us in a proper way. You know, of course, none of us come to this process perfect, and I certainly, meditation can help you remember every little thing you ever did in your life that was caused someone stress or distress or harm in body, speech, or mind that you've done. And that's the beautiful thing about forgiveness too, is that we can seek to forgive and also seek forgiveness from those we may have hurt or harmed in deeds of body, speech, and mind, as one of my great teachers, Gauranga, taught through the process of Vipassana. So
what's the topic of today?
Well, we're going to read from the Bhagavad Gita as it is. We had read yesterday from 220 that for the soul there's neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. And I thought we'd continue with the next 222 is another beautiful one and I'm going to read the purport actually because it's so wonderful. From His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. As a person, this is 222 from Contents of the Gita summarized. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you. Yes, we offer our respects to all the teachers and Vaishnavas and to Bhaktivedanta Swami. 222. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. So I guess today's topic is about death. But it's also about life, which is eternal.
Yeah, yesterday I felt like, give me a new body, please.
Yeah. And we're not going to record, we're not going to put the date and days on these dailies. Sometimes we record them as they come each day. Sometimes we do 3 or 4 in a day and then release them each day. We hope that you don't have to binge watch these like Prime or Netflix, where you're like, it's just a little augment to your day. If you feel like watching more or going back, there's always going to be more information. It's never ending. Transcendental knowledge is ever fresh. It's alive. It's always, one is always deepening one's understanding of it, because it's transcendental. It's not material. Material, chewing the chewed, as they say. The material things and sounds and places, they get old. That's why we all keep traveling around the world and doing this thing and that thing. But this stuff's ever fresh. So the purport, I'll read it one more time, the stanza. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. Purport. Change of body by the atomic individual soul is an accepted fact. Even the modern scientists, who do not believe in the existence of the soul, but at the same time cannot explain the source of energy from the heart, have to accept continuous changes of body, which appear from childhood to boyhood, and from boyhood to youth, and again from youth to old age. From old age, the change is transferred to another body. This has already been explained in a previous verse, 213. Transference of the atomic individual soul to another body is made possible by the grace of the supersoul, known as the Paramatma. The supersoul fulfills the desire of the atomic soul, as one friend fulfills the desire of another. The Vedas, like the Mundaka Upanishad, as well as the Svetasvatara Upanishad, compare the soul and the supersoul to 2 friendly birds sitting on the same tree. One of the birds, the individual atomic soul, the Jiva Atma, is eating the fruit of the tree. And the other bird, Krishna, the Paramatma, the Lord in the heart, is simply watching his friend. Of these 2 birds, although they are the same in quality, one is captivated by the fruits of the material tree, while the other is simply witnessing the activities of his friend. Krishna is the name of God. It means he who is all attractive, or that person who attracts everyone. And of course, the Supreme Being, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is all attractive, is all opulent, all wealthy, all famous, all wise, all renounced, and all beautiful. Very beautiful. The most beautiful. That's why he's called Krishna. It means he who is all attractive, or has all the attractive qualities in full. Krishna is the witnessing bird, and Arjuna is the eating bird. Krishna is speaking this Bhagavad Gita to his disciple and friend Arjuna, one of the Pandavas, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, just north of New Delhi now. Although they are friends, one is still the master and the other is the servant. Forgetfulness of this relationship by the atomic soul is the cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another, or from one body to another. The Jiva soul is struggling very hard on the tree of the material body. But as soon as he agrees to accept the other bird as the supreme spiritual master, as Arjuna agreed to do by voluntary surrender unto Krishna for instructions, the subordinate bird immediately becomes free from all lamentations. Both the Mundaka Upanishad 3.1.2 and Svetasvatara Upanishad 4.7 confirm this. Quote, although the 2 birds are in the same tree, the eating bird is fully engrossed with anxiety and moroseness as the enjoyer of the fruits of the tree. But if in some way or other turns his face to his friend, the Lord, and knows his glories, at once the suffering bird becomes free from all anxieties. End quote. Arjuna has now turned his face toward his eternal friend Krishna and is understanding the Bhagavad Gita from him. And thus, hearing from Krishna, he can understand the supreme glories of the Lord and be free from lamentation. Arjuna is advised herewith by the Lord not to lament for the bodily change of his old grandfather and his teacher. He should rather be happy to kill their bodies in the righteous fight so that they may be cleansed at once of all reactions from various bodily activities. One who lays down his life on the sacrificial altar or in the proper battlefield is at once cleansed of bodily reactions and promoted to a higher status of life. So there's no cause for Arjuna's lamentation. You have to understand the context here. There's a great fratricidal war, which they were trying to avoid at every step and every cost. Of course, a proper warrior will try to avoid battle at any cost. But sometimes, at some point, fighting and war cannot be avoided. Now, there's no more righteous wars anymore in the world. They're all political and devious by nature. But this was 5,000 years ago, and there was a great war. And Arjuna was really stressed about it all. We can also take this as the metaphor in a sense for our own lives, in that we have this battlefield in front of us every day. We have to upkeep our bodies. For me, I have to take insulin and check my blood sugars. It's a bit of a battle. It's my own battle. We all, in other traditions, they say you gotta take up the cross every day. You gotta bear your cross, but you try to help others lift theirs. So here Krishna's advising us that not to get overly upset at the changing of the garments, the overshirt, and the mind is just the mental undershirt. They're both material in nature. But we, the living entity, are eternal, everlasting, and undying. And so knowing this, it can help us shoulder the burden of loss a little better according to our realization of these transcendental truths, axioms. I mean, you saw your body. Didn't you see the body of your father after he passed?
Oh yeah, I didn't see him for many years, and then I got invited at the funeral, and the coffin was closed, but then they sent everybody out, and just the closest family members were allowed to stay, and they opened the coffin. I think his brother demanded, he wanted to see him. So I was standing at the coffin when they opened it, and I was able to look at my dad. Haven't been seeing him for so many years. It was quite a strong experience. But I'm very thankful for it, and I would really, really invite you to do the same, because it helped me to say goodbye. Because seeing the bodily form, I knew he had left. And when they put the body in the coffin, they closed the coffin again, and they put him in this hole in the ground, and they just put the earth on top of it, and I knew he wasn't there. I knew he was gone. And it really helped me. So many people don't want to look at the dead bodies, and they always keep the coffins closed in Europe. I don't know. I think in US
It depends. It
depends
on the culture and faith.
Yeah, it's really strange. And they say, no, I want to remember him, how he was, blah blah. But I really like this. We watched it on this one show, and there was this Ruben, and he said he never seen a dead body before. I've seen that body.
Oh yeah, and actually at the age of 19, I was in India at Varanasi, and that was a major, like the sound of a gong going off in my whole body when I could see the bodies burning by the Ganges. I still have one of the few analog photos I still have on my desk is of these feet sticking out of the flames, and it really dawned on me that that's going to happen to me, that they're going to burn my body, and it made me really think about, who am I?
I think it's helpful to see the dead body. It helps to say goodbye and to realize that person is not there anymore. That person had left. So
And a long time ago, at least in America, and before the industry of the funeral and cemetery industry got going, I used to work in funeral and cemetery services and products for a while, and great learning there. But people people would die in the home, and people would sit with the body for a good day. It was very common practice to mourn and wail and sit with the body and take a sponge and clean the body, wrap it, and then out back or to the local cemetery down the road, you would bury. There's a great hymn called, they say, the cowboy junkies from Canada sang it, called "To Love Is to Bury." It's just about the cycle of the body.
Yeah, I think it's really sad that they take the bodies away so fast.
Now they just
That's
so
really
you don't have to by law. If someone passes away, you don't have to immediately have them come and take the body away. I mean, we don't need to go the other way, the extreme, and try to preserve the dead body, but it is good to see it for what it is. And there's so much death going on in this world all the time, and it can be a helpful, sobering meditation to some degree to see, whether you bury it or burn it or dump it in the sea, or some places they chop up the body and put it on the hill for the vultures. The novices in that tradition go up and they do that to remind them that, hey, it's going to happen to you, your body, not you, but the body you're in. And some other traditions, they put the bones up on top of these long towers. They're called towers of silence in Zoroastrianism in Persia and parts of India, where the bones get bleached and then they get swept down these long tunnels. So whichever way your body goes, it's I think it was Socrates he had been condemned to death, for being a heretic. Isn't that usually the truth? People that teach the truth are usually called heretics and hated. And one of his students said, "Well, what should we do with your body?" And he was like, "What should we do with you?" And he said, "You're going to have to catch me." He knew he wasn't his body. He was going to leave his body. So,
Yeah, I want to be burned. I don't want any place
to
exist where I just...
We have fun. This is part of our estate plan. We actually talk a lot about what we want done. Not much, just for me, the remains of my grandfather's body, my great-grandfather's body, my dad's body are all scattered in Kempenfell Bay, north of, close to Barrie, North Ontario, north of Toronto. And I would ideally, if I pass away in Greece, then obviously...
Yeah, I want to change my will. I don't want to be scattered in the ocean. I want to be scattered under olive trees, please.
Okay.
I prefer
Noted.
The olive trees.
Scatter Maria's body's ashes under the olive tree. But just, try not to make it too difficult for whoever has to...
No, there are so many. There are thousands of olive trees here. Just choose a couple.
What if you leave your body in Germany? It's going to be hard to find an olive tree.
Then you have to drive down to Greece.
You see, we have this understanding that we know we're not our bodies and we're not our minds, and so we can joke about it a little bit. But we welcome you to, we also know that people can get quite upset. We've certainly...
Yeah, it's so funny when people say that this is morbid, that it's morbid to talk about that, and I'm like, what?
It's not saying it's morbid to talk about taxes with your accountant. You got to do it. So, I have my...
It's not morbid to talk about birth, so why should it be morbid to talk about...
Yeah, you should cry at birth if you're crying at death. So, for the birth, old age, disease, and death, those are the 4 suffering aspects of the material world. So, better to face it than to avoid it. My grandfather, I love my grandfather so much. He was such a cool guy, and we had a lot of fun together, but he struggled a lot. He was really sick for quite a while before he passed, and I was with him by his bedside chanting, but he was just crying, and he was struggling, and he didn't want to let go. He was scared, and I'm not judging or criticizing, but I was paying attention. I was really noticing that, like, I don't want to be that upset, that not at peace, that frayed at when I leave my body. So obviously I love to help people leave their body in a nice way when it's their time. I mean, obviously we try to keep body and soul together for the use, for the service, loving service, for practicing our bhakti yoga, and for advancing our God consciousness and self-realization. But at some point we got to let go, you know. At some point, no matter how many tubes and vitamins, the body by nature gets old and denuded and broken down, and you have to leave it. Sometimes really quickly if you're in an accident, but hopefully you can live a life where you can leave your body consciously or somewhat consciously, and those around you can help you. And one of the ways you can help is through hearing and repeating and remembering either scripture or Gauranga meditation. We'll teach some other, we'll offer some other meditations we do. The guitar, the Maha Mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra, and Japa Mala on our beads.
I will chant in your ear.
Yeah, please
But
do. Hold my hand and chant in my ear, and I'll hold your hand and chant in your ear. And you know, hopefully we try to do that for every living entity, whether they're in a four-legged body or a two-legged body. So, yeah, we hope you enjoyed today's gathering. Thank you for coming out. We really wish for you peace, freedom, and joy, and love, surrender, and devotion, as we say. That's the kind of way. The way up is down. Humility and patience and forgiveness and gratitude. These are the qualities that we really want to try and develop while we're in a human form of life. And most importantly, our self and God realization, actualization, and Krishna consciousness. So we say peace be with you. Namaste.
Namaste.
And Haribol. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
I'm Mark, and a stick. I'm Mark.
And I'm Maria.
And this is JuicyMagiK. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Was that number 3?
No, that was number 4.